Suzanne, I don't know what you've heard, but gay people are not out to convert the rest of the world. I'm just your friend. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, you don't find me attractive.
When we think about gay characters on sitcoms, we usually picture people in big northern cities. But season 4 of Designing Women features an unusual southern and conservative take on having queer friends. It also set the stage for Ellen's coming out episode just a few years later.
Oh, Suzanne, loosen up. It's the 90s.
Yeah, well, it's not the gay 90s.
All aboard and welcome to Matt Baum's Culture Cruise, where we take a deep dive on LGBT themes on TV, in movies, in books, games, and more. This month we're looking at Suzanne Goes Looking for a Friend, a 1990 episode of Designing Women that marks a halfway point on TV between gay characters as crisis and gay characters as stars. Culture Cruise is made possible by the folks who pledge $1 or more a month on Patreon, folks like Michael Cole Schwartz. Thanks, Michael. There's rewards for backers. Head over to patreon.com/mattbaum or click the link in the description to join the folks who make Culture Cruise possible. The episode starts with a little foreshadowing of the gender expectations to come.
Hey, you can't fight chromosomes. Little boys like little boy things, little girls like little girl things.
This is a pretty reductive way to think about boys and girls, and Meshach Taylor espoused a very different attitude a few years earlier in the movie Mannequin.
Two things I love to do. It's fight and kiss boys. Come on, honey. Ah! This is what being a man is all about, honey. Oh, yeah!
Anyway, Suzanne has a problem. She has an extra ticket to the theater and needs to bring a friend, but since none of the main characters are available, that leaves her with nobody.
I don't have any other girlfriends. You three are it.
Suzanne, it seems, simply never learned how to make friends. So she starts flipping through her address book and lands on a name she hasn't thought about since her pageant days.
Eugenia Weeks. I trusted her to spray my backside before the swimsuit competition. She did what? You know, sprayed my rear end with glue so my suit wouldn't ride up.
That's very intimate. You'd think that after going through an experience like that together, she'd feel quite close to Eugenia. But they haven't spoken in years, and when she does invite Eugenia over to catch up, Suzanne doesn't seem to catch some very obvious signals.
Yeah, my lover and I broke up a few weeks ago. Everybody else from the pageant circuit won't have anything to do with me since I came out. Seems like the only places I go anymore are to work and, of course, my Sisters in Sappho meetings.
In case you haven't picked up on it, she is a lesbian. Seems like it would be pretty hard to miss after all that, and yet we still get the familiar scene of a straight person in denial about gay people.
You know, if all the women in the world were like her, I'd have no trouble finding girlfriends.
Suzanne, you do realize that Eugenia swings the other way, don't you?
Oh, sure. What's that mean?
He means Eugenia is a lesbian, Suzanne.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous. Who ever heard of a lesbian debutante?
What did you think she meant when she mentioned Sappho?
I didn't know. I thought it was a detergent.
Sure, Suzanne, she goes out once a week to a Sisters in Detergent meeting. As a viewer, you might have a little deja vu here, like you've already seen a clueless straight person fail to recognize someone obviously queer in their midst. That's because you probably have seen that scene.
A marriage? Oh, but it couldn't be. I mean, you and Cousin Liz was both gay.
I'm quite fond of you.
I'm fond of you, too.
Listen carefully. John is a sexual.
So we can add Designing Women to the collection of shows where the existence of a gay person is the most shocking thing to have ever happened. Suzanne has a lot of, shall we say, old-fashioned opinions.
Suzanne, we can't go around in blackface. That's racist.
Why? If Dustin Hoffman was going to play Martin Luther King, you don't think he'd wear black makeup?
Suzanne, Dustin Hoffman would never play Martin Luther King. That part would go to a black actor.
Well, I think that's racist.
So not exactly the most sensitive of the sugar bakers, and now that she accidentally made a lesbian friend, her reaction is one of panic, especially since she and Eugenia are supposed to go to a big banquet in a few days.
I trusted her to spray glue on my butt. What do you think she meant by the little hug at the door? What's everybody going to think if I go to that dinner with her tomorrow night?
This is where the episode departs from very special gay episodes of sitcoms past. All of the characters in this scene think that Suzanne is overreacting, that she's being silly for rejecting a queer friend. That's quite a change from how television shows depict queer characters. In the 70s and 80s, it was more common for queer characters to just throw everybody into crisis. There might have been one or two characters on the show who were okay with them, but in general, it was unusual for everyone to be open-minded and accepting. But in this episode, it's Suzanne who's unusual for rejecting her friend. She's presented as the problem, rather than Eugenia being a cause of trouble. That puts designing women at a unique midpoint in the way queer characters are depicted on TV. When this episode aired, shows had moved past gays as crisis to show them being accepted, and that cleared the way for a gay character to be more than a one-off guest, but to actually be the star of the show. At any rate, Suzanne was supposed to meet Eugenia for drinks, and terrified of going to a lesbian bar, she drags the other ladies along with her. I have to say, this establishing shot makes it look like the world's fanciest lesbian bar. Look at those columns. Is this place actually on the island of Lesbos? Everyone is a little shocked by how nice it is.
But I'd sort of pictured this kind of dark little cave tucked away under a staircase where you need a secret knock to get in. You know, women in gangster suits dancing the tango and pictures of tennis stars all over the walls.
That sounds amazing. Someone please open that lesbian bar so it can become my new favorite hangout. Anyway, the longer the women stay, the more empathy they start to feel.
I hope it's not rude, to be in a gay bar and not be gay. I mean, I'm starting to know how homosexuals must feel, not being able to be open about who they are.
And while that new understanding is nice, it's not really extending to Suzanne. She still refuses to go to the dinner with Eugenia, and she's got a novel excuse.
Eugenia is in love with me. It's as plain as a pig in a parlor. How can you all not see it?
Oh, Suzanne, you're imagining things.
Rachel, she calls me up on the phone. She laughs at my jokes. She invites me to go places.
Oh no, that does sound suspicious.
What Suzanne is describing is more commonly known as friendship. But for sitcom reasons, she just never learned the simple elements of being nice to another person. To her, there's some secret lesbian seduction going on. So Suzanne concocts a plan to hide from Eugenia, and I have to say, it is probably the world's worst plan, even if Eugenia was trying to flirt with her. Suzanne scurries away to hide in the steam room of a local spa, a place where the whole point is to be virtually naked, and therefore affords no opportunities for disguising oneself, and where everyone is at their most physically vulnerable. So, good thinking, Suzanne. Eugenia is able to track her down, which is frankly a lot of work to go to for someone who's been acting like a jerk. And there in the steam, Eugenia gives Suzanne a little gay 101.
Suzanne, I don't know what you've heard, but gay people are not out to convert the rest of the world. I'm just your friend. And even though I'm free at the moment, doesn't mean I'm desperate enough to go barking up the wrong tree. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, you don't find me attractive.
That's a solid joke. And it was a solid joke 4 years earlier on The Golden Girls.
I don't believe it. I do not believe it.
I was pretty surprised myself.
Well, I'll bet. To think Jean would prefer Rose over me? That's ridiculous.
When Suzanne realizes that Eugenia doesn't exist solely to validate her pride, she's a bit miffed. She's still making this all about her, and it seems like she's never going to come around and simply accept Eugenia as a friend. As we've seen, Suzanne just has no idea what friendship is. Her behavior is ignorant and cruel and dismissive. But then she sees someone else behaving even worse.
There should be 3 saunas here. One for men, one for women, and one for people like you. I am never coming back here again.
And Suzanne suddenly realizes what she's been doing.
Guess you gotta put up with a lot of stuff like that, huh? Not too much. It only really hurts when it comes from friends.
Good one. This is a moment that comes down to friendship, and that's something that's universal, whether the very special homosexual episode is set in Los Angeles or Miami or Springfield. Suzanne has been struggling with the realization that she doesn't have any friends, and now she sees her opportunity to finally change that, to finally start being a decent person to someone else. Friendship means standing by the people in your life and standing up for them.
I hope you don't think I'm like that. Listen, I can accept you for what you are. I just don't want you to, direct it towards me.
Okay, that's not a perfect response. Does Suzanne say that to every straight man that she meets? But it's a start. Not just for Suzanne, but for the TV shows that we watch in general. By 1990, this formula of the benevolent straight person accepting queers had gotten a little stale. TV shows had examined queer characters as one-off guests from just about every possible angle. So it was only a matter of time before they tackled a new kind of story. Rather than focus on straight people learning to deal with the occasional gay person, within a few years, TV would be ready to try something truly groundbreaking, turning the focus to gay people living their own lives. But for now, it's enough that Suzanne has accepted Eugenia and is ready to move on to more advanced forms of friendship.
It just occurred to me, too, if we were to go around together, say to that dinner tonight, well, not only would we be the two most beautiful women in Atlanta, but we wouldn't be cutting into each other's territory, you know? You'd have yours, I'd have mine. That could be okay.
Congratulations to Suzanne for discovering friendship, discovering empathy, and discovering wingmanning. Land ho, we're pulling into port. Thanks for cruising along with us, and thanks to everyone who makes Culture Cruise possible with a pledge of $1 or more a month on Patreon, folks like Michael Cole Schwartz. There's some lovely rewards for folks who pledge their support. Head over to patreon.com/mattbaum or click the link in the description to check out the perks available to backers. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for my gangster suit tango class.